It is Thursday, December 7th, 2023. The time is 6:04 PM. I'd like to call the regular Planning Commission meeting to order. Myself, Mike Capper's present.
Dave Wallner,
Ken Lehman.
Cheryl Williamson.
Dan Benas.
Lane Alter.
And absent, Josh Hecht. Is that it? Yeah.
I think so.
The public comment on the agenda items. Christie or John, do you guys have any public comment?
Does she talk now or when it comes up?
Probably now.
I don't know if we have any comments.
I'm fine.
I guess I have a question. Why is it on the agenda?
Wait, what?
No, they're not voting tonight.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Oh, no, they're not voting. Okay.
I don't know what we're talking about. What is what on the agenda?
The rezoned.
Oh, okay.
Why is
Why is that on the agenda tonight? I wasn't notified. Absolutely nothing.
Are you saying for D, for proper zoning and CUP for Spartan Auto?
Yes.
Okay,
I didn't,
let's, how about we get to that and then we can discuss it then, does that work?
Sure.
Okay. So discussion, possible recommendation for the role and responsibilities of the zoning administrator. So from what we went through at our little meeting that we had with the language change, since the village board has also made the planning commission the zoning administrator, we went through what responsibilities, since we haven't had a zoning administrator, we went through who's currently doing what for those roles. And then we changed the zoning administrator to the zoning administration, since it'll be the whole panel of the planning commission members. So if everybody can kind of skim through, and we'll just kind of go through the changes quickly, if that works for everybody.
Is that for us new business though, or for public comment time?
That's for new business.
I think you have to close public comment, right?
Right.
You have to close public
Yeah,
comment.
there's nobody to,
You have to still close it.
okay, public comments closed.
There we go. All right.
Yeah, I just wondered.
So you can see where the strike through the administrator and should be administration. I did just email this again to Paul so he can go through it, make sure everything is properly worded. But if you guys can go through and see if there's anything glaring that you see before it gets sent to the full board.
I think we are gonna have to put together some processes in place. I don't think we're done after this meeting.
Right.
So I think we have more work to do after this. So that the staff here knows what to expect when somebody comes in, has a question.
Yeah, I think there was a form that we talked about that we don't have that will need to get made up. And-
So yeah, as long as everybody knows that we're not done as of tonight.
Right.
And so all we're discussing now is the strike throughs that have
The
occurred.
changes, and then, if it looks good enough, then make a recommendation to go to the full board. And then if Paul has any other changes too, then they can be made at the full board level. But
In
they-
regards to just the language and
Just for
this is
this,
what we're going to the
just for
board.
this ordinance, yeah,
Okay,
just for
all
this
right,
ordinance.
all right.
As time goes on, I'm not 100% sure we're gonna be equipped to do this properly. This is a step in the right direction. But I think at some point in time, we need to look at hiring somebody to do this. Certainly not gonna be full-time.
Agreed.
Somebody that's
Yeah.
not affiliated with the village at all, but outside. So,
All right,
I'm not like saying, we're in a step in the right direction to know that all
You've
these.
been asking for this for 20.
Yeah, to go
But
from
my
nothing to
thought
this.
was somebody hired you know, like I say, it might be a few hours a month, might be a few hours a week, whatever it might be. But
Can we ask what you're talking about?
to make I've been saying for years and years, and so is Lane, that we make conditional uses. So, and then nobody ever goes back and finds out if people are following them. So I've said for a long time, we can make all the rules we want, nobody ever goes back to see if they're done. So,
So we,
and I was told 20 years ago, there's not enough money in the budget to hire somebody to do this. Okay, I understand, but we're twice the size we were 20, 25 years ago.
so now they'll be able to go through and look to make sure everything was done. And then the building inspector we'd sign off on it as the board before the building inspector would provide a certificate of occupancy.
Just simply saying that the requirements that we asked them to do are done.
Like your checks and balances. Or accountability.
Isn't that the building inspector's job? I mean, doesn't he do that? He doesn't do that?
Not the conditional uses.
Yeah, there are additional things.
Yeah.
Specifically, what really brought this to attention is there's a fence someplace in town that was told to be a certain height and not see-through and all sorts, and nothing got met. And yet they're in operation and have been for years. So, and that's just, like Dan said, we've been asking for years, set the CUP in order, but who makes sure it's met and what kind of enforcement and penalty do we have if it's not?
So timeframe processes, and then when it gets signed off, they get the,
Occupancy permit.
yeah, and I mean, that's just standard procedures.
Right.
Built many stores in the cities. We don't hand it over, the keys over until it's approved.
And the
This
building
isn't final
inspector
goal,
was,
this is just to get in the
I
right
just want to make sure
direction.
everybody
Yeah,
knew that this isn't,
absolutely.
this isn't the last time we're talking about this. We still got more things to do
Absolutely.
it properly.
I agree.
Get one more time to go through it, or anybody wanna make a recommendation to have it go to the full board?
I guess I'll recommend that the role and responsibilities of the zoning administrator move forward to the board. Is that what we're doing?
So makes a motion, is there a second? Wayne Belter with the second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Okay, so you're gonna have the attorney look at it.
The attorney will look at it, yeah. Before it goes to the full
I already
board,
see some of the changes in here.
yeah.
So
This just has to.
There's a
be
little-
jumping point. This can't- I think this is just a-
But I agree with Dan, there's still changes to come.
Yeah,
If we're gonna do this, I want to do it right.
yeah.
I wanna do it correctly and not have a problem on the road.
so I'm just thinking that we should have the attorney go through it
Yeah.
and make sure the verbiage is all right, meaning what we need. And then bring it back to us, look at it, review, or send it out to us ahead of time, so we can review it before the meeting.
The issue with that might be, so we're trying to do, there's like 3 different ordinance changes that we're trying to do all at once. So it's one cost instead of 2 or 3 different costs.
So there's 3, I mean, other than verbiage, there's 3 ordinances where we
No,
wanna
just
change.
3, just one at the planning commission level, 2 at the regular village board level. So the goal was to get it probably in this next meeting or the meeting after to do
And
them
then-
all
So which,
at once.
so which ordinances,
This is for the zoning administrator.
right, I know that, which ordinances we trying, city ordinances we wanna change.
It has for parking and stuff on different roads. It's nothing to do with planning commission.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So then we just have discussion items because we don't have that zoning administrator position in place yet with them or approved by the board. Electronic sign advertising. And there is, let's see. Dan, which,
It's the first one in the packet, 13-1-111.
111.
And number A4 is the line that would specifically address this item.
Okay, so the only issue is for A4.
So. Not that I want like back and forth that meeting, but John, this is, got put on here because of, the electric sign, by the liquor store that's advertising different businesses. That is in violation of the village ordinances. Were you aware of that?
Right now, that's all I've heard.
Okay. Well, it was brought to our attention, or to my attention.
The ordinance reads only on-premise advertising. For any sign in the village.
Well, they should probably look that permit up when they approved it, because that's why I was putting it up to advertise for my business and other businesses, that they approved it when I put it up.
Do you have a copy of the conditional use permit?
I'll look at it.
It would be a conditional use permit.
Didn't know anything about it. I mean, no, I don't have it in my pocket. I mean,
Yours,
the village certainly should have a copy of it.
well, there wouldn't be a conditional use permit. That's what
I don't, this is before my time, I don't think so for a
Your sign
sign.
went up before our electronic message sign ordinance went up.
Was in place, yeah.
So your sign went up before we even had created. But do you have a copy of the regular?
So it should be grandfathered in there.
Exactly.
No,
Why would-
because
why would that be?
the other ordinance is the same thing, I believe. The sign
The
ordinance
sign
that was
one.
that was used when he put his up, I believe says the same thing, only on-premise advertising.
How do you pull that? That's what you'd have to go by, whatever ordinance was in place and he put a sign up, you would have to pull that and go by exactly what that said. So how do you get that? For whenever the sign went up, you'd have to do the date to the.
Well, yeah, that would be, this is the ordinance for the electric message sign, but
Now, is it the year he put that up? Do you know what I'm
I
saying?
don't have a copy of it in front of
I
me.
don't
This
either.
is is that going up there? Okay. This would be the ordinance that pertains to non-electronic ones that would have been in place.
To non-electronic?
Because
Well,
we put
It
this,
wouldn't have said.
we put this
non-electronic.
together after John. put the
Right.
sign up.
Right, but I don't know how non-electronic signs could be something that we would say 1 + 1 = 2 to electronic signs. Since the non-electronic, the electronic sign is just a sheet of plywood.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's painted on and I mean,
But you could still pay it with somebody else's advertising
on your property,
on
yeah.
the property.
So Dick's could have a sign on their property for
Further edge, whatever.
River's Edge,
And it would be against ordinance.
right?
All right.
But I still don't see how that's a 1 + 1, because,
Neither, I mean, I don't either, I mean, it's, if we didn't have an electronic sign set up when he put his sign up. And, you know, whatever was discussed in that meeting when he got approval for it. And whatever he was told then, I mean, it's gotta,
Whatever the sign ordinance said when he got that sign.
but the painted sign, the plywood sign,
right,
that's a non-changeable sign.
correct.
So you wouldn't have that wording in there, so it
Yeah.
wouldn't apply.
It's just
Okay.
a totally different
Right.
sign.
How about
It's
this?
separate.
In my opinion, it's probably would be grandfathered in a non-conforming use.
I would say we've
But I
got,
don't wanna make this decision, plus it's only discussion.
yeah,
If, Tasia, if you can look to see what the minutes were, John, do you remember about when that sign went in?
I don't,
7 years ago, something like that? Something,
because the grandfathering thing falls in line much more, so I think as well, because way back when we said you can't build a mother-in-law
Yeah.
apartment. However, we already know there are a bunch of mother-in-law apartments in town, they're grandfathered into being okay.
Correct.
You'd have to. do
There's
the
nothing
same.
in our ordinances of grandfather.
Oh, there isn't?
No, there's,
but yeah,
no,
it's a.
It was
called a
not
legal,
saying-
legal
Yeah, it's a legal
non-conforming
term, but-
use,
Yeah.
but.
yeah, there's no
Is there-
grandfather.
But let's do this, let's see what information we can get from the old minutes and everything, and then let's give it to the village attorney and the village attorney and Christie can figure it out better than we can.
Yeah, because I'm sure this is not the first village or city that something like this has occurred. So how-
I think it could,
Can I say one thing?
Yes, sir.
So the Somerset Chamber of Commerce is fundraising money right now to put up an electronic sign.
Only for
Right.
the weather I think they're only gonna display the weather and school events though, right? That's what I thought.
Doesn't matter, the school ain't the Chamber of Commerce.
But the way this
I'm just saying, don't wish for something you guys don't want.
Well, we all want you to
What I'm
have
trying
this,
say.
you know that, right? Like, we're all wanting you to.
Non-commercial messages.
Yeah, if the
On your
Chamber of
sign.
Commerce puts one up, they'd probably comply, because this says only on-premise advertising, time, temperature, non-commercial.
Non-commercial, and the school is
So the
non-commercial.
chamber would probably do something that would be non-commercial.
Yeah.
When they get theirs. But that still doesn't seem to have any effect. So, yeah, I agree. Let's see what other.
Let's get all the information we can and then see what Paul says and then,
There's some case.
and then either Paul can, or Tasia can message to you, Christie,
Yeah, that's fine.
or if it comes to me, I'll just forward it to you.
I
Does that work
sure,
with everybody?
thought.
Cause we have, it's just
Yeah, yeah,
discussion
we-
anyway, so.
just because we don't, it's the only one in town, so it's kind of like an off.
It's not the only one.
Well, I mean, the
One that would have been before the ordinance.
yes,
went into
before the
effect.
ordinance, I believe, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn. I guess where I'm going with it is,
Elect-
I think that, you know, it's advertising right now, local businesses, the dog kennel, the auto shop, you know, it's like all local stuff. And so I think I think another way to approach this is, yes, this is what the ordinance says, but is it a bad thing that we're advertising local businesses? Would the plan commission want to look at changing the ordinance to allow
Local business.
local businesses to be advertised in that way? I'm just throwing the thought out there.
And
Yeah,
I'm assuming you were always
And-
gonna just advertise local businesses.
and I was thinking the
Right,
same,
yeah.
I was thinking the same thing, but I don't know, I think that goes to the village board, not the planning commission to change the ordinance for
Yeah.
signs.
I don't know, because if it falls under, I don't know, that's a good question.
No, I
think it
we're the
would-
ones that put together the sign ordinance. and
Yeah.
recommended it.
Because it's under kind of the zoning chapter of the ordinances. It's just another way to look at it, if it's, you know, if it's advertising local good.
Well, aren't we a recommendation board to the council? We make the recommendations of what our ordinances are going to be, and the council has to vote on.
Mhm.
So we are the recommendation board to discuss that issue. So, I mean, once we get some of the data back, then I think at one of the next one or two meetings, we have to discuss it and determine what we would like to do.
Whether or not we would change this to
Mhm.
include,
Right.
perhaps like Tasia just said, local businesses.
I think we have to look at it first, though, get the information,
Mhm.
Correct.
and then find out
Time to
before
review
we
it.
start making any changes.
I drive around a lot and I think it's like city of Maple Grove or whatever, they have big signs, city of welcome to Maple Grove, and they're advertising for a bunch of different businesses on there.
Yeah, they sell that advertisement.
It's all their
They sell
local
it.
businesses.
You're
Yeah,
right, they sell them,
Yeah.
right,
yeah.
but, so that's the thing, we're gonna ask ourselves, is that what we want in the town, yes or no, and if so, we'll make a recommendation one way or the other to the full board.
Can you clarify what exactly you need from me for the information that you guys are trying to find?
If you can find any information on, the sign permit, that'd probably be the easiest way to get it from Brian Worth is when it went into effect, and then shortly after that is when the ordinance would have went into effect.
Well, and we know it went into effect before we created this electronic message you would
Yeah.
sign. So it should
Mhm.
it should fall under the requirements of the regular sign permit. So if we make the changes, we need to make the changes on both. If we decide to, if the commission decides to scratch this,
Mhm.
we should, and change it to not, change only on-premise advertising and eliminate that. It should be done on both.
Sure. I
In
still,
theory, but it's not like you
I'm-
can easily switch a.
yeah, I'm still
statement
having
on-
trouble paralleling
Oh,
plywood sign with.
Sure.
electronic
Yeah, 'cause there
I
there are
hate
two
Are you
physically
still
different
having
signs.
with the one?
Well, I think that's where, Dan, you brought it back to just now, right? Is if we change it for electronics, we should also change it for plywood signs?
Technically, we didn't have a sign, so technically his sign permit brought up before we even had this.
Mm-hmm.
So we did this, we don't even need, Yes, this is currently, if you build a sign tomorrow, you put a sign up tomorrow, you would fall under this criteria.
I think that's like though trying to govern internet use based on 1920 telephone line rules.
But our ordinance right now, so if you, even if, say if it's a plywood sign, you still have to apply for a
A sign.
sign permit
Yes,
to change that, and then it has to get approved, unless
And if
it's
you- if you
unless it's a
want-
political sign, of certain size, whatever. So if you do an electronic sign, can they put up whatever they want, you know? So I think we should probably get some model policy from other places before we just make some
So, yeah.
willy-nilly decision.
I agree.
I mean, what do we do with the Dairy Queen, the electronic sign at Dairy Queen?
That was put in after this ordinance was written.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so I'm just asking the question. 'cause
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not advertising.
I don't know of any
for
other
businesses.
besides John's that came in before this
Right,
ordinance.
right,
started.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at everything in.
But I think all the extra, all the, other because there was no such thing before. We
I
didn't
agree
have one in
with that.
Somerset before
Yeah.
John bought his.
Yes,
For his.
yes.
And then, because this is a more informal meeting, does anybody have anything to add on the electronic sign advertising? So if we can look for some model policy.
Okay.
And then see if you can find whatever information you can about the sign when it went up. And then, on the last one, on F, I put that on for the, and I talked to you about it, John, for your big billboard sign as you're coming into town. To see if there's anything we can do to make it look good, like, I think I had mentioned to you, if you could cut the tops off, paint the poles black, wrap it with Sam's Christmas Village or something to just clean it up and make it look better. And you had said you were looking to maybe sell the sign, is that still, or, I mean,
It's in the works, but doesn't look good.
is there anything that you can do to work with us on making it look better?
Yeah, there is, to be honest with you, Mike. Take a ride around town and look at everybody's signs. You got a sign right down here on the corner. That's an absolute embarrassment to the village of Somerset. 3 houses down.
Oh,
You got signs all over that don't work in town. I'm on this agenda 3 times tonight and was not notified once. I mean, if we wanna work together, I'm all willing to work together.
Mr. Ronpettit, just because it's just
Can I finish
discussion.
talking?
And, well, actually, no, so I will.
Oh,
This
give it
is
to me,
just,
Shelley.
thank you. These are just discussions. This was posted, and it was just discussion, so that's probably why you
Do you
were
have any idea
notified.
how an
But
agenda
please don't
works?
talk to me that way ever again, thank you. All right?
let's tighten this up here, guys. So like I said, I put the last one on, just to see if we can work together on just make it look good, and we wanna fix up everything, so. That we have that app thing for people to say, okay, this doesn't look good here, we want this painted, this fixed. And that's we're, in my opinion, as you're coming into town, seeing your big billboard, it would be nice if it looked better. That's my only thing.
And I agree, I totally agree with that. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm not quite sure.
Well,
what we should
it's just leave that, so at least for that, cause that's that one's my issue, I put that one on.
Right.
And we talked about it before in the parking lot here. Can we assume you're gonna work on something to make it
Yep.
look better, and can maybe a timeline, 5-6 months or something like that?
Yeah, what are we doing? Yeah, just, I mean, give me till June, or,
Yeah.
I mean, if it gets nice in May, April, May, not a problem.
Would you remove it?
No,
Sell it?
I have parts ordered for it, it's an old sign and the parts are all reordered, it's
Oh.
Cedar Lake Speedway's having the same problem with the track. And Steve's the one fixing it, Steve and Jim, I think it's Jim, I don't know his name.
Jim,
And, we're waiting for parts on them.
Oh.
So,
So, and my opinion was, or my recommendation, and to keep it cheap is, so it's got the blue pillars and some are higher on top, and, if you can use a plasma cutter or grinder, grind them off on the top, some black paint on the post to kind of just make them disappear, and then even like a wrap around the whole thing, you know, what do you call it, a banner, put a banner around it or something, and it would clean it up nice and make it look 100 times better,
And you're
and
saying
it wouldn't cost much.
maybe
I don't know
do
what you
that
mean.
before the replacement.
Just like my sign over there, like those cardboard type plastic banners that go around and wrap around. You could use that, almost use the backing like it's plywood and then put a big wrap or banner around the whole sign, and it would be less than $1,000.
You mean cover up the front of the reader board sign, you mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get that, the parts are coming for that.
Well,
That-
I'm
that's-
saying a cheap way to do it, if you
Right.
couldn't fix it, you could
Right.
use a banner and wrap it. And it would look great.
Right.
And you already have power there, you could put lights on it if you wanted, but
So like if the parts don't come in by the 6-month time limit,
it's
then
been
look
like
into
that, it's been like that forever, but I would say if it's not done in like 8 months to a year, then we
Then wrap
look
it.
at some kind of enforcement action or something, or some kind of,
If it's not done 8 months, I'll have a new sign up there. Okay.
perfect.
Good.
So then let's get to the, proper zoning and CUP for Spartan Auto. You doing?
I brought this up. John, I had a conversation with, when we walked behind your property with Dave Careful.
Yep.
And you mentioned to me that you had sold Spartan Auto.
My son did.
What's that?
My son did.
Yeah. I said, and my comment with you was now might be the time to change the zoning.
Yep.
Because really, auto repair shop doesn't fit the conservancy where it's zoned.
Can I just help you out on this, to make it very fast? All the paperwork's in to have it rezoned to commercial.
Okay,
That's why I was so puzzled.
I just want.
That's why I'm paying an attorney to be here.
No, and that's why it's just discussion. I was not looking to make any,
Yeah.
But do you see what I see when somebody calls me and says Spartan Auto is on the deal for rezoning? No letter, nobody contacted us, absolutely nothing.
wasn't,
And then you look at the agenda and out of 6 items on there, 3 of them, like I said earlier,
and now is the time for the conditional use permit to be brought in line with the other 3 repair shops in Somerset. And to get a conditional use permit, that's
Yeah,
not any more restricted, not any less restricted.
But
than
Tasha
anyway.
has the paperwork itself like to do that.
For the rezone and the CUP, but I don't know if the CUP is for the auto shop necessarily, or if it's just for your buildings.
I didn't know I had to do with the CUP.
I
for
think
Spartan
if you
Auto.
left it in conservancy, he then would have to do the CUP. But if he rezones it to commercial, then I think it's an approved use.
Do you know of anything of Spartan Auto that if it's rezoned properly, would still require a CUP on the auto shop?
Yeah, anything, because that's a condition, an allowable conditional use in highway commercial.
Okay,
Because I'm assuming you look into the ones that's highway commercial, was that the C2?
You know what, the attorney sent a letter out to my attorney.
I think the village decided years ago and that we weren't gonna do C1 anymore, that's the old district here, that you can build up to the lot line, there's, but
No, I can
highway
talk to
commercial.
Paul on this, but I think as between Paul and I, we thought CUP in the conservancy or rezone it commercial. But you don't have to do both.
So, and if it's going to highway commercial, it does say for a conditional use would be vehicle and related equipment, sales and service. Is that what it would fall
I
under?
would think so, yeah.
And I don't know if it's highway commercial, is that what was it?
It said commercial from the attorney.
You want me to grab your app and see what you wrote on there for what you're trying to rezone it to?
You have a letter from the attorney? Don't you guys have a letter from the attorney?
no.
I don't have anything.
I don't know.
It's not even
I
on the
didn't even know it was
agenda.
being rezoned.
That's not on the agenda.
Nobody
No,
told
it'll
anybody.
be next one.
No, maybe we're confused. Is it on the agenda because you thought nothing was being done? Maybe?
Well, we do.
I asked it to be on the agenda, no, I asked for being on the agenda because I knew the business was sold.
Right, and you
Yeah.
did you realize that we had been discussing this? Oh.
We haven't-
Nobody
haven't-
told us.
We haven't been told that there's an application.
I got it.
Till now.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Because we don't get the agenda for 2 weeks before the
I
next
get
meeting,
it.
and that's coming up the next meeting.
So you were just trying
So
to
the-
follow.
Nobody
I
told us.
just, want- I
And-
just-
So
I
the
just-
the attorney doesn't talk to the board or you guys or?
Probably wouldn't even have been on here if we.
Well, and the other thing too, so like, you're gonna see a lot more of this, because we talked about, say if there's 100 CUPs throughout all the businesses that we wanna do, like, review every 2 years of it, so.
Like an enforcement.
Yeah, so each month we talked about, we'll do 5 each month, and then, put a thing for 2 years from now, send something out, is it still the same use or different use? 'Cause right now, there's a bunch of different businesses
Just to
doing stuff
clear the
without.
air, this whole thing that's going on in the background is that John he wants to cooperate. That's why he's submitted this
We
rezoning.
had this
And, but
conversation last fall, but-
between Paul and I, if it stays in conservancy, then he has to get a CUP. If he removes it into commercial, it'll be okay, but I think what you're saying is that within the commercial district, there's a couple of different,
there's C1, C2, and C3.
okay,
C1 is something the village hasn't put anything into for 60 years, 80 years. That's the where it bends in Archie's and, that the very central part of the district.
got ya.
C2 was created in the 70s so that we could have some conditional uses and have a little bit of control. So, no, I would like to see it become C2 and then conditional use, and then conditional use is there for, unless you violate it, it's there for forever.
Right.
The other thing that Tasia and I were discussing today is, and Andrew, we were talking and Andrew spoke up and said, actually, the conditional use, like in this case, John's gonna own the property, rent the building. The way it's written now is John would have to get the conditional use permit in his name, because he's the owner. So Tasia and I just talked,
Property.
maybe at some point in time, it needs to change so that you can own the property, but then your renter can get the CUP. So that you're not in there every day.
I don't know if he'd wanna do that either, because then he's giving up.
Control.
Because if the renter
Cause if they
leaves
screw up, then that's
with
on.
CUP.
Yeah.
I've been.
If the renter leaves with the CUP, he rents to somebody else, that next person has to come in and get a conditional use permit. And then I'm not saying I'm just saying that,
Right.
But
I'm not saying that's
the
the way that should be
CUP goes
changed.
with the building, not the person.
It does if it's given to the owner,
To the
yeah.
property
The
owner.
property
The way it's
owner,
written,
but if it's given to the renter, it's essentially like a personal property, right? That-
And maybe that's not, it's just a discussion today.
Right.
So the application just says commercial. I think when it comes to the planning commission, we'll probably wanna verify which one and looking at the different districts, it makes sense that it would be C2.
Because there is no such thing as commercial. There's
Well,
commercial
There
one,
is.
commercial
There's
two, commercial three.
so central business district is commercial or C1. C2 is highway commercial and C3 is professional office district.
Which is, we created when we did Revard Street for the hospital and the clinics and the.
Right, but I mean, you
Of the-
can't have something say just commercial, because it has to
It has to
be
be
designated into one
C1,
of those.
C2, or C3.
Would County Road I or Spring Street could that ever be considered highway commercial though?
I think that's what parts of it are right
I
now.
think it's just a generic term,
Mhm.
because none of and the reason it was created is because you didn't need any CUPs to do anything in the old central district. You could go in there and do whatever you wanted to. But your village just simply wanted to have a conditional use permit to say, this is what I'm doing with the property.
But we have it set up now where any C2 and any C3 automatically comes with a CUP as well.
You have to apply for the CUP, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but you can't have a commercial 2 or a commercial 3 without also getting a CUP.
exactly.
So there's permitted uses that are already listed there. And then for C2, but then there's conditional uses, and that's where the CUP, I believe, would come into place.
We got a section on permitted uses, and you wouldn't need a CUP for that.
Okay,
But if you do a conditional uses, then you would need a CUP.
And then that's where,
C3 is the least, you guys can do more things.
No, it's got more restrictive, because whether the hospital wanted to put put their clinic up there in Rebar Street, and they said, we don't want an automotive repair shop going next to us, or, you know, they want, it's more professional buildings. Like the animal hospital and the church and the, you know, they're more professional buildings.
So it'd be a 3 then?
C3.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we want to clarify one thing. It sounds like we may need to do both the CUP and a rezoning. It sounds like. If the
Yeah.
C2 sounds like the way that's
Yeah.
proper. So if we did that, we could limit it to just that Spartan Auto area for the CUP.
Can't.
You can't
Yeah.
rezone that, or,
No, the
survey
rezoning
it.
on all of them.
Resurvey it, that area.
Right, the CUP can be restricted just to Spartan Auto. Because he could do a different kind of use on the remaining property. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
that's a really good question.
I don't know the answer to that right here, but we can certainly find out.
Here's the
Because-
C2
Yep, yep,
highway commercial. And so if all of this is met
yep,
and only these are the uses,
permitted, yep.
then you would not need the conditional use, but if you go above and beyond any of this, do you want that?
Yeah, we gotta do that, yeah, and I think. As you said, I think that's what we'll probably have to do.
Yeah,
But I think that what he's saying is that's a big plot of land there. It's not just like little Spartan Auto.
So we need to find out if we can.
Just do the
part of
Spartan
it.
Auto building.
But Christie, in
Exactly.
your experience, that's been able to be done where it's, you just do the CUP just for that building?
You know, I don't know that I've ever done it just for,
Otherwise it'd have to rezone that whole, it's not even a big conservancy chunk, is it? It's not.
how much is in that conservancy? It's quite a bit, the float right owns.
Well, it's from the apartment building to the driveway.
Right, and that's not that big, it's 3 acres?
I think it's like 6 acres.
Oh, so,
So you could do something else with some
Well,
of
you
that
could-
other land.
yeah,
Well, here's my question. This is my main question. So if I zone it like you want me to zone it, can I still camp on there for the weddings and that, or that's not a campground? no more?
I think that's.
When it was out,
okay, oh.
I'm willing to
yeah, I
work,
get
but
what
I'm
you-
not willing to.
And I
To do
think that's why you would almost for sure have to go to a conditional use permit.
That's why I was in conservancy.
Yeah, and so with something like, because you're the one that knows more about this than any of us, if he got a C2 and the conditional use, would he even be able to include on the CUP camping during a wedding?
I know. under
So
C3,
the
whole
repair shop is here with this CUP, the camp, the rest of it is here with a different CUP, and there's a line, because you're not gonna camp in the parking
You're not
lot.
gonna go to
or not.
Spartan to camp.
It's gonna be off to the
No,
north.
he's thinking if he did the whole chunk that's currently conservancy.
Yeah.
If that whole
Oh.
chunk became C2.
That's what I'm saying. If you did that, and then you just, that's what we need to find out, if we can do
Right.
this area, which is
that area.
called, this is
We
this.
don't wanna trade one problem for another.
No,
That makes
That's
sense,
what-
and
that's what
you
I'm
don't wanna
saying.
take away
If
from.
this,
your
if this is the area that you're calling Spartan Auto, and there, that CUP
Christie, could you do
for the auto repair goes with
the
that,
legwork
but then
and
the
send
rest of
it
this
to
goes,
us?
is
Yeah.
still
What
under
you would recommend,
C2.
and then we'll
But
have
you got a
Paul look
conditional
at it.
permit for this part of it for,
That way you,
It has to be
guys
split.
know, that way you guys know what you
That's what
want
we
for the
can find out.
future. You bring it to us, we send it to Paul, then we do our thing here.
Yeah, this is a trickier, more.
Does that work that way? Cause you guys know
Yeah.
what you're trying to do and.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I don't know who can answer those questions other than
The
the
attorneys.
you or
Attorney.
Paul or the planning commissioner, whoever. I mean, so can I put Christmas lights up on the trees and people walk through to look at them, or I can't because that's not in?
Yeah,
I mean,
You're right.
there's a whole lot to look at.
Well,
Yeah,
then do you
yeah,
have a regular conditional use permit for,
I don't believe.
For the conservancy part, or? as
well,
it
just
is?
for everything, for.
I don't believe they have
Probably not.
anything on record for that old, cause it's
I
been,
don't think
it's
so.
been
So-
70 years, 60 years.
oof,
Well, the change, I'm saying for like the change in use from camping to like the Christmas lights, is there a? So
there's
would
an
think-
explanation. I asked Andrea about that piece of it, just as we were talking about having to rezone for the Spartan Auto piece and all that. She said there's a reason why that didn't need to come, to do Sam's. I don't remember what it is now off the top of my head, but
Well,
she said
we should figure
there's
it
a
out.
rhyme and a
get,
reason of
like,
why that didn't need to.
I-
take
And
place.
not penalize anybody, but get everybody into compliance for
everybody
what their
knows.
permitted uses are, right? I mean,
When we
isn't that-
started 5 years ago, I came to the board and there was nothing was changing. They just wanted the hours, what I was doing. And to be quite honest with you, not to bring up old stuff, but they were ecstatic that I wasn't camping and tubing in the village anymore.
Right.
And I think it was just,
Do whatever,
Yeah.
just don't.
I mean, seriously.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're not here to shut you down or anything like that. Let's just make sure we're all on the same page and everybody knows what everybody's
Cause we
permitted
definitely
use are.
weren't, cause he had that filled out, so
Yeah,
it would be good to.
I'm in favor
Yeah.
of changing it, getting the right conditional uses, and then it's gonna be done for a long time.
In the ideal world, is it possible to draw a line where Spartan Auto and their parking would end and have that just become C2
Yeah,
and everything else remain conservancy?
That would be,
we have to ask the attorney that, cause that's.
But that would be through surveying, wouldn't it, Christie?
I
You'd have
think
to-
you'd have to do a survey.
Right, and that's still $6,000 or whatever, just
Well,
to
you
have it
wouldn't have to
surveyed.
do a full-blown survey, but you'd have to come up with, create a legal description for that Spartan
That's
Auto
fine.
portion, so that wouldn't be horrible.
So, and I'm guessing you or Bryce sold the business, but not the building, you
Didn't
still.
sell the building,
building.
that's right.
Well, and I would think as a renter, you would not wanna know, where are your boundaries,
Yeah.
Not that I don't want you to spend $6,000 for a survey, that's not what I want to see happen.
But if it separated the two, it might be worth the headache.
And then I guess if it was my property, my question would be, if I change it from conservancy to C1, C2, or C3, all of a sudden, is there gonna be some huge different tax implication from going?
Mm,
That would be my question. But otherwise, I know with C3, camping is a permitted use in C3 with a conditional use permit.
Yeah, and so if we leave.
C3 or
the-
C2?
The other.
I know
part
it
of
goes in
conservancy,
C3, because I'm dealing with that. on
Right.
a different
I would just
property.
like to see the repair shop have the correct
And so,
zoning and conditional use.
so then even
Well,
without a
that's all they
survey,
want.
just with some type of legal write-up that says 20 feet toward General Sam's from the building edge is now under this
Yeah.
CUP.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it would be just something that easy as, or 20 yards or whatever.
And that's for Christie to,
I think that
Bring
we
to us
could
and-
do that.
Yeah.
I like that
Just,
a
well,
lot, actually.
there's
whatever.
some type of description that just
Right,
gives you a.
right.
Yeah.
I think we could come up with something like that.
And then leave the rest of it in conservancy.
I'm just taking it all in.
Christie, do you think you can do that within like the next 2 weeks, or do you wanna wait till
Oh,
like?
I think that's probably pushing it.
It's the holidays, it's the holidays.
Christmas
All
time.
right,
She's a little
so,
tired.
so then,
And regular time, 2 weeks.
so then we'll just skip it for the next meeting here, so that would give you, what?
Well, although, do you wanna get this thing,
That would give you 6
we
weeks.
gotta
yeah.
call off Paul then, cause Paul imposed the deadline.
Deadline for what?
He just said if we didn't get going on this by December 1st.
He said if this wasn't done.
This
The
is-
zoning guys would come and,
But this is kind of for a separate, because this is about the buildings.
right, right.
That's what this originally was submitted for, not the Spartan
Exactly,
Auto.
and, but.
No, that is submitted for that whole piece of property.
Right, which Spartan Auto is on, is that what I'm understanding?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it
Now,
came to
as we're
look,
talking.
Dan and I talked about it after that meeting that night, and he said, why don't you just rezone it? And I said, I told the planning commission I would rezone, but I was told whatever, and now that's gone, but then she got a letter from Paul, your attorney, that gave us till December, I think it was December first.
First, yeah.
To either get the application in, or.
Oh, for the building permits for the other thing, right?
Yeah,
For the storage
But
building.
that's on the
No.
property, and that needs the.
It's like 3 different
rezoned.
things going
That's the
on.
building,
Yeah.
the
It's
storage
like 3
building.
different things going on.
So I don't think
But
you.
the-
Now you know,
the
now you know
deadlines
why I'm
for the
questioning
storage
it.
building
What's
on the other
what's on
side.
the agenda
Yeah,
here?
that's two different
The,
things. We're
the
gonna call it
building,
that.
the
Right, but-
leaders that rezone the whole property, then we're gonna solve the building problem.
But I don't think you want to continue with this zoning change then, Because ideally, you don't change that whole piece of property, you only change one little bit.
Well, then you gotta talk to Paul.
But then that's the
Well,
building
and-
they're talking about, that's why they were talking about changing the zoning.
Right.
And what
For
Paul
the
was saying
auto
for
shop.
December
For the auto
first
shop.
was getting the
Storage,
building
for the
permits
Yeah.
Well, that's not under.
for the buildings that already
But he
went.
said
No,
rezoning.
that's why I have
No,
to-
that is not in
Rezoning on CUP.
Yeah,
Would
he
solve
said.
some of
it had
those
to be
issues.
both.
With that building.
So
So,
then the
Okay.
two would have to go.
And then, so that's on that.
So-
Those-
We can rezone
If
it
it's
and
on
solve that building
Spartan
issue,
Auto,
but we're,
you use it for
but
storage for-
Okay.
we can do a CUP for
The storage.
Spartan Auto.
Yeah.
We
As long
just
as it's
don't
not a
wanna create
nuisance
a
to the
problem
neighbors,
for float
Who
rent
cares?
businesses.
But it
So
still
what
should
I-
be in compliance.
Let's
just
just have the
because this is a little
attorney.
confusing, because I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure all this out.
Let me make, can I just make a very long story short? I put up 2 storage sheds for my equipment, and this is where we're at.
Well,
Just,
I mean,
let me,
two-
just,
three
let me
different
just
things.
say this. This is pretty confusing. I'm having a hard time following what
Yeah.
everybody's really saying on this. And as a courtesy to, which is a very good business in Somerset, both my wife Debbie and I are really impressed with the light show. And as I came out of the city's teaching for the last 5 years, you couldn't believe how many people I've heard say, my God, that's fantastic. And it was a positive for this community. I think we should table this for 90 days and let everybody have some conversation ability and figure out exactly where we're going before we do something, try to be in a hurry to please somebody or whatever. And all of a sudden, they're left with a mistake and we're left with a mistake, and we all look like a donkey,
Mhm.
you know? So I say this should be tabled for 90 days.
I'm in no hurry for any of it. I just wanted to discuss the fact that the auto repair shop is not in compliance with the other 3 auto repair shops.
And I agree, I
Right.
And that's all,
totally,
that's all I'm.
No.
But if it gets solved in 6 months or a year, I don't care.
I totally appreciate that, Dan, but you can see where all of a sudden it all came
Yeah,
together.
I did.
And you didn't even know that letter came from the attorney.
No,
And I'm thinking,
Well, yeah,
Christie, how
that's
much,
the
how much
confusion that
time
this
do you
board's
need?
got right now, and this thing should just be.
How much time do you need to be
let's-
able to get something to the planning commission? Can you, so you already have it for the rezone and the CUP, right? That application is in for the next meeting?
Yeah, but that's for the entire parcel.
Yeah, and I don't
And
think
now
you
what
want
you're-
that
And
anymore.
now I'm
No,
not
you don't
sure
want
that
that
that's the
anymore.
smartest thing to do.
I
Take that
think now
back.
you wanna look
Take
at
that back.
getting it zoned just for the auto shop, or maybe for the auto shop and the storage
Yeah.
building.
But that's not for the
Exactly.
whole
But not
parcel,
the
that's,
rest
that's
Not for the.
just for
Just
the
the two
conservancy on top,
parts.
right?
Yeah.
Sounds like the
What's
best.
that?
for,
That's just the,
yeah, but there's,
where the sheds are and then where
Yeah,
there's
the,
like
Spartan Auto.
6 different parcels in flow, right?
right, but only the
Or-
conservancies are only the ones up top,
From
right?
the driveway to the Spartan Quick.
Yeah, so
Service.
you'd still wanna rezone that to,
Yeah.
Well, but he's got the places that some people that park and camp there for weddings.
but that's a
On one
condition,
side of the driveway of the
Oh.
pole barns, as opposed to the other
but
side,
that's a permitted use
On
under
that.
under C
They're-
two.
On their
I
current.
don't think it is under.
No, it wouldn't,
It is under C3, so maybe we'll just look
I
at that and bring
If
it.
it's C3 is professional.
I don't think
building.
C3, it's under conservancy.
Yeah.
You could camp under conservancy.
Right,
But set aside all that discussion, but because this has got more fingers than the hand can hold. I
right.
think they need time, and I think we need time to get this figured out, so there aren't any mistakes.
Yeah,
And we create a comfortable situation, so we're protected as a board. They have a quality piece of property that still can operate,
accurate.
and we save dissension.
and do we say
So-
3 months of tabling it is
I
long
would
enough?
say table for 3 months. I think
Do you
3
want more
months is on
time?
the tight side,
I think
because I know what it is
Okay.
and trying to get some stuff done. But, I mean,
Isn't the first thing to get figured out is the zoning?
Yes,
Mm.
And then we'll move on to
Yeah,
the conditional use for conversion for the
That's where
shop
the discussion
and
started.
the camping. I mean,
Yeah.
the zoning's gotta come first, right?
Yeah.
We can't
Yes,
have a
yes.
conditional use permit, till we have zoning.
Yeah.
first.
Right.
Like I say, I don't care. I don't care if it takes us 12 months to
Yeah.
figure it all out.
but get all the ducks in a row correctly.
That's
As
why
long
I
as
thought we
it's
were on that
moving.
discussion,
Yeah.
trying to wrap that up.
So,
Chris, Christie, by the April meeting? you-
Yeah.
you-
so just so we're up clear, so we're talking about rezoning the parcel for the building, so that's in compliance, right? And that's okay with C2, if we limited
What
it to the
buildings?
building, the new building.
yeah,
Storage
The
building.
storage
New
buildings.
storage building.
Yeah, just do those two separately and keep it separate from everything
It's
else.
impossible without a survey.
What,
If you rezone, you can't just rezone those two buildings and not Spartan Quick Service and,
Right,
Well, I think
That's
she's
what-
saying,
that's what I'm
I think
saying,
she's saying
90
zone the whole
days.
thing.
So,
that's what I'm saying, 90 days to figure out what is the process you're gonna need to participate in, and then go from there with, if it's rezoning, if it's resurveying, it's dividing, so that in 90 days, try to get it figured out, what's the path? And, and be honest with you, I think it's gonna be tough to do in 90 days.
What is
Yeah.
our, what is
You
our
know, but-
April meeting?
But I
date?
think
At
this
least that'll
actually
give us
tabled
something.
over 90
Maybe,
days.
maybe it could just be back on for discussion in April.
Yeah,
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
we'll see moving, so not
And if we
even a
need more
decision
time,
made.
Yeah.
You just come back to us in April with what you found and what you think, like you just said, for another discussion.
Well, then I would like to make a motion that we take this to add it to the April meeting for discussion purposes, to see where we're at, and then to help John Monpettit lay out a plan, how to get this done. So by then, Christie, you should be able to have conversations with Paul and figure it all out, so you guys understand it, because that's most important, is that we're protected and that your entity is protected. So I think that would be the best bet then. My motion would be to table this for them to come back in the April meeting and have a discussion, see where it's at, and look at options.
Before we table it, go ahead, Charlie, you first.
No,
you
I
first.
was gonna second, so
Oh,
you
okay.
go right ahead.
Well, and there, you don't, there's, it's just
Just
discussion. so you
discussion.
can't- There is no,
Oh, yeah,
we'll just
okay.
table it.
Under C2, conditional uses are hotels, motels, and private lodges. So we're not a long ways away from campgrounds. I mean,
Private lodges is a camp, a camper.
but I'm
park
saying,
from-
we're not,
really is.
we're not
It
on
is.
opposite ends of the spectrum.
No.
We're, our
You can word
ordinance
to
is,
fit.
our ordinance is
Yeah,
damn close.
so then C2 could easily accommodate all the way to the sheds on both sides of that driveway, and you'd still be able to have campers parked there for weddings.
That was a good catch.
This guy's
Camper,
got,
private lodge?
I think so.
this guy's got.
Isn't it? It would be,
Well,
right?
If you go to a campground, they count it as a private lodge, they don't enter it.
You rent
Yeah.
the spot, it's your
True.
spot while you're
It's a
really
private
paying the
lodge.
rent.
Private lodge.
So I mean,
If it's a canvas tent or a
Yeah.
motorhome.
oh, yeah.
so is a
Yeah.
private lodge considered a tent or,
Well,
It is right now.
It is
Okay,
a campground.
we'll have
You know
to
what I
see
mean?
if
But
it
it's
can
not,
be.
it's not spelled out here.
It-
I mean, if it
it's
was only for
considered
like
your
2
private
days,
entity,
nights,
your
wouldn't that
private
be private
domain
lodge? One
when you're in
night.
a campground.
When I security guarded at, We Fest,
Huh?
yeah, everybody tenting up there thought that was their private property, don't you come in my tent.
I bet they
there
do.
is, there actually is.
How many times did you get in trouble for?
Is it
going
like
in
one
there?
night, a one night over? It's like a
Never.
one night, right? They're not camping for a week. It's like a
Yes.
one night, 'cause it's
Yeah,
a wedding.
So,
Well, then-
do I have a second?
Yeah, I
There
do.
there is no,
Okay.
I don't, we don't.
there is
even-
no,
Table
mo-
it.
We
we're
don't
just
need to
gonna
do
table it and then,
Yeah.
because it's just discussion.
Okay.
But let me just look at C3 quick, cause I,
And the other thing is,
So when he's
Mike,
look,
can
when he's
you, can
looking,
you tell Paul that this is what's occurring? I mean, I'll send an email too, but he's gonna want your confirmation that we've all decided that everybody needs a little bit more time.
we'll
to-
just do a little synopsis of what we think, what we discussed and
Okay.
send it to Paul and Deja.
Got ya.
So this should not go on
I don't think
January.
so.
I don't.
No,
I
no.
don't know.
No.
Give that back to Mr.
That's why I'm trying to confirm so that I put the correct things on or not.
No.
No, that's a bad.
That's a no.
Take that back.
Do
You,
we,
you don't want this one.
Cancel that.
Not till we,
Yeah.
and if next December we're having the same discussion, we need
Then we have an
to
issue.
put a time, we need, at this point, we need to put a
Then
line
you
in the
really
sand
will
and
have
say,
3 weeks.
we can't,
Yeah.
but I,
well, let me ask a question, I'm just on conservancy, because I don't understand it. Is there other conservancy in the village? Or is it just that piece of property at Float Ride Park?
None that I know of,
um,
other than you.
So all the green is conservancy. All the like dark
it's in
green.
the village park. That's conservancy.
So
But that's
what-
all.
How about like Apple River Campground?
are there any privately owned properties, right?
No.
that you're asking?
Half River Campground is industrial in the front, agricultural. Except for the flood, it's basically, John, the floodplain of the Apple. And most of it is, well, I guess it is privately owned, some of it, but some of it's so steep you couldn't do anything with it anyway.
Well, what's right down on, is the green,
The green is conservancy.
The
well,
dark
isn't the
green.
green right there?
The dark green.
Apple River Campground?
Right here.
here is Apple River Campground.
So the
Yeah, but it's gotta go
floodplain,
all the way down to the river.
the floodplain of the.
The floodplain, when you go down the hill, that's, the top
Like the
is,
bottom of it, down by the river.
No,
the
I'm
top
just
is
asking,
agricultural,
what is the lower part of Apple River Campground zone?
conservancy.
Cause it's,
Yeah,
So I guess now I'm really puzzled. For two sheds that I'm putting up at my gatehouse and camping.
cause you can't access it.
you can camp on conservancy. But I'm not sure, I don't remember what's going on with the sheds.
It can stay in conservancy, but you have to get a CUP. It's approved, it's an approved use, but you need a conditional use permit. It's either
And then
or.
if I remember right, there was variances that would have needed to be done if it stayed in conservancy.
From the property line, Correct.
I think, right?
correct.
Because it's too
So-
close to the property
You're-
line.
You can get
But-
rid of the rezonement and just do a CUP for the conservancy for the sheds.
And
the variance.
And apply for
variance.
variance.
Yeah,
Cause here's the conservancy one, conditional uses are. These are what's permitted, so storing facilities, so that would be your buildings and public camping grounds.
Can I just
Say the public
wind,
camping ground.
can I just wind the clock back? So there's a problem with, I don't mean a problem, Dan. I mean, you think it's the right way to have to rezone Spartan Quick Service because the business was sold, but not the property is one thing.
It should have had the proper zoning back when you created it.
100 years ago, but and I agree, I totally,
But to me, now is the time to
Change of
straighten it out.
ownership or.
change of ownership.
well, it's not change of ownership, though, it's change of ownership of just the
The
business, not
business,
the
yeah,
land.
the business.
So I put in a building permit to build 2 storage sheds. And now it's going from that I can have that on conservancy with a CUP,
Yeah,
is that correct?
that's correct.
To rezoning everything from the bus garage to the gatehouse. And my taxes will go up and I have to have stipulations on everything.
I think we're back to probably just rezoning the auto body shop.
the auto body shop.
You'd have to have a survey.
Without a survey.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we need to, I thought we need to find out if you can, if it's legal to split the property without an expensive survey. Can you just simply say 300 feet wide, 300 feet long? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't wanna see somebody spend a bunch of money in a survey for,
I agree.
and only the surveyor's making, coming out ahead.
And the goal isn't to like go after you, it's just to like, let's get everybody's ducks in a row, you know, like, and we're gonna.
No, was the reason that they were talking about changing the changing the zoning under the storage sheds? Because then they would fit?
No, there were 2 options.
Yeah.
Either rezone it
Yeah,
to commercial and then the storage sheds would be fine, or get a CUP and leave the zoning as is in conservancy.
but I thought I thought it was too close to a property line somewhere.
You would need a variance and you're.
It would not need a variance,
No, I don't think so.
Absolutely.
It just needs a CUP.
absolutely not. That building, you saw it, Shyla,
I did.
that building is built to the specs.
It is.
I filled out a building permit. I have sent it in, I applied for it. I was waiting for him to give it back to me to start on it. He came to me and asked me if I would be so kind to go to the village board because he was worried about his job, the building inspector. I came to the planning commission. The planning commission said, what'd you say?
Well,
There you go.
I think we decided.
You
that
didn't
it
have the
wasn't-
right to
yeah.
speak on it. Good luck, have a good day, is what was said.
Yeah.
And then
What
you were
was said
sent
was-
something the next day, I
What was
think,
said
right?
was, why are you here?
Yeah,
You have every
Yeah.
right, tell the
Yeah.
building inspector that was sitting right back here.
and then the
He can
next
build the
day,
buildings, and the next morning,
we found out
we
we were
had
wrong.
a letter from the attorney that, or I believe you had a letter from the attorney and the building inspector that I can't build it.
Cause I
it's
think
not
the
zoned
buildings are
properly.
actually 2 feet further away from the.
No,
property
here's what
line
you
than they
guys
have to be
said.
even.
The planning.
The
buildings are great, I've
Commission
seen 'em.
determined that their
Yeah,
approval
stop.
was not
I never-
needed,
They,
and he did not need to be involved as it tied into the business currently located on the adjoining property. That's verbatim from,
Can you say that again, read that
yeah,
again?
the planning commission determined that their approval was not needed. They did not need to be involved as it tied, as the buildings, as it tied into the business currently located on the adjoining property.
And then I believe we misspoke. the attorney said we misspoke or something, right? Isn't that what happened?
I did,
I don't
see,
even
I'm not privy to anything the attorney did with,
Maybe we weren't
I
allowed
never
to
got
say
any
that or
notes on
something,
that,
I
but
don't
that
know.
is correct and what,
But the
Yeah,
buildings
I
look
think
fine, the buildings
That
look
is
fine,
correct.
what you said was
that's
factual.
why I'm at a loss.
So that's what happened, is that John thought he was good to go, and it's just spiraled out of control.
Well, I remember the conversation here,
Yeah,
we said, we don't see any reason why John
Right.
needs to be.
We're here, asking questions.
Asking
Right,
questions,
yeah.
because he's
In fact, I
meeting.
think Wayne, you're the one who said that,
Let's, can
exact
we move,
statement.
can we move forward if
Sure.
that's okay with everybody?
Yeah, let's move
Christie,
forward. I'm
you'll get us something to Paul and something to us, and then we can,
do you want to say more?
April meeting.
You okay with that?
I think, so I understand too, because this was kind of that deadline that Paul had set up.
Yes.
So we'll need to make sure, and I can send him a recording of the meeting and everything, but, so what you had asked was that we make sure that Paul is aware that this is going to be,
That we're working
Yeah,
on.
we're
it.
gonna
I think we can make it, I think we can make it a lot shorter than 6 months or 8 months. Is there anybody here that feels if we do a CUP and it meets all standards by the policy and procedure for the board, that on that land,
On the buildings.
on the two buildings,
I would
He'd be
say
good to go.
whatever is most economical to your business.
That would.
is the
be
way
most-
route you have to
right
go.
there, Yeah.
I mean, that's the most sensible way. If it's legal, perfect, take use of it. You know, I mean, you should do what's best for you.
well, I believe you just, that's what you just read in the
Right,
ordinance.
well, I mean, I don't, gosh, it was so, this is confusing to me. I mean, I gotta do a lot more reading to get caught up on all of this to figure this out. But that's why I'm saying to give you the time. So, you know, Tasia, you should notify Paul that everything is on hold all the way through April, after we have the April meeting, and to discuss and to see what options are and routes that are gonna be taking, and then we'll figure out a timeframe.
But if they wanna be done before April.
Well, if John wants to bring it
done
before April, he can get us on the.
Well, yeah, he can go as fast as he wants, but he's got a grace period now through April to just present to
And
us.
I would
And
check,
then we'll discuss.
If he wants to come sooner, he can.
Yeah.
Correct.
We just have given a big time.
Correct,
Yeah.
and I think because
I wrote
it's
like
confusing,
7 checks.
that's why I would take it.
I would check too, that I think that
The CUP, I think
So-
you can leave in place.
for the
The concern-
January.
Yeah,
'Cause, yep,
then we won't change the zoning, the CUP can be left in place, if that gets approved, that's one problem solved.
so then the zoning will hold off on until
Exactly,
we do some more.
until we figure out what's going
I thought
on.
the setbacks were different. And they need variances, or you're saying the,
But I
Well,
have
if you-
never heard any about any setback issue.
From what I was understood by the building inspector, if you on a variance, on what's its own conservancy, you don't need a special meeting for that. The setbacks are farther than if it's zoned commercial,
Okay,
which I don't quite understand, but whatever.
Like
I didn't
here-
care.
okay.
So in
I
conservative-
followed that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it talks about the setback.
25 feet, I think it is, isn't it?
Minimum rear yard
35 feet.
setback,
35 feet.
25 feet,
Or is it-
Yes.
except where it directly abuts to single or multi-zoned residential land, in which case 50-foot
50 feet.
setback.
It's 75.
Depends on, does that depend on where the building inspector determines the front setback is?
I do not know the
So it's
answer
gotta
to
be
that.
determined what's front, what's side, what's back. Cause you always got more.
is it 50 feet from the property line?
Only if it
From the-
abuts the.
What do you mean the front of the bill? From the front?
No, the
No, it's not.
the setback goes from the property line, right?
Okay.
I don't know
Christie?
either.
I don't know, I already got a permit before.
The set,
Yeah, we understand.
the setback goes from the property line, correct, Christie?
What's that?
The setback, it starts at the property line, right? It's,
Right,
if you
yeah.
have a 7-foot setback, it's 7 feet from the property line to, but whatever.
Unless the property line goes to the middle of the road, which it could very well.
Well, but this doesn't, this goes to
It
the
doesn't.
back of the
Okay,
fences of the house, I
okay.
assume, so
So it says the
Everybody's
setback is 50 feet?
50 feet in conservancy.
From a single residence.
And
Multi,
a single-
Or multi, single.
single or
Single-family
multi-zone
or-
residential
yeah.
land.
So
So
that
you
Yeah,
need, you
yeah.
need a
Oh,
variance
that's
as well.
big.
That's what
I
I'm
couldn't read it, it's too small. Can you blow it up?
Oh, let me see.
Do you want me to just
So
read it?
what is a variance?
Would you
consist
please?
of?
Yeah, I
saying. A
will.
variance, you have to
Well,
ask
not
for a
now.
special
Messing around.
special permission or whatever, and it's, a variance is because there's some certain kind of a hardship, you know, like. And it'd be hard proving that there's a hardship, but it's
Like
already
if I
up.
went 50 feet in front of that building, it'd be over the hill on the Apple River.
You have a really hard time getting your
See,
stuff
an
out.
hour you didn't read it yet.
And John, you came
Let
in,
me get to the spot.
and you came in before and had like, you know, the adjoining neighbors.
Yep.
Whatever,
And that
I
is
would,
better.
I would get like a full.
it good?
It's close.
Letter from them, like, whatever, have zero problem with where the building's.
They'll come,
Sure,
to-
yeah.
I mean, they'll come to a meeting
Yeah,
too. They'll write-
and like what Gunther was concerned about, so like, okay, so now we don't have these variances and whatever, and say there's. Lots of rain runoff and it goes into their yard and we're, you know, we're kinda in, we approved it or let it happen and now we're kinda, so.
Well, actually,
The more you do to protect yourself, the more you're protecting the board here too.
he would fit the classification for hardship because of the fact of the train of land and position in the building, it's not.
Would be an
easy.
apple.
So you would fit that category to the letter of the law.
Right.
Yeah,
Do you want
So-
this read?
Yeah,
Here, I'm gonna read this. Dimensional requirements, following building and structure regulations shall apply to the Conservancy District. Height maximum is 35 feet, minimum side yard, minimum front yard setback, minimum rear yard setback, all shall be 25 feet, except where it directly abuts a single or multi-zoned residential land, in which case 50-foot setback for front, side, back.
Okay.
yeah. You had like permission from her, you talked to. her,
but because
didn't you?
now the
Yeah.
building, because of the lay of the land behind, would be pushed over the edge of the grade.
Yeah.
So that is
That
a
is a
hardship
hardship.
case, special
Well,
use.
but one,
So he does make the letter of the law to apply for a variance.
Yes, right, a variance, but a variance would be needed now,
Yeah,
based on
It
what that
doesn't
says.
talk about the 50 feet between the residential and his building. I don't know how many feet is there.
5.
I'm almost positive it's 25 feet that I built off of it, because I thought that's what they told me, but I could be wrong.
Well, we would have thought, you would have thought so though, because it says 25 feet. We didn't read further though and read the except, since you're next to property, house.
What I
you
would,
get permission. from
what
her.
I would,
So does he have to apply for a variance
Yeah.
then too? That's gonna be another application he needs to get to you.
So Chris,
and you might wanna think of this,
How much is that?
Christie, why don't you guys take some
So
time to
direct.
think about it, cause we got time. Take some time to think about it, what works best, whether it's rezoning it, whatever, or conservancy and variances, or.
So is there a variance board, or are you guys the variance board?
We are.
I think they're the.
They would
board.
be the Board of Appeals.
Board of Appeals.
Because it's already.
And like I said, I would get documentation from all the neighbors, you know.
Which you already got.
You brought that.
Yeah, but I would
Brought it
get
in
a
front of
little,
us.
something a little more formal, a little more.
Yeah,
But that's
From
not-
what I remember, it was
that's
just
not permission.
their names and.
Yeah. It was just a one-line thing that said,
The landlords are gonna
So bring
change
that
over
to the
time.
board.
That's never
That's
gonna
right.
be-
Yeah.
And then, cause I would assume, like, if you do a rezone,
Where's Scranton at for now?
right, but if you do a rezone, then, adjoining landowners probably get notified, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so,
don't bring that up.
Can I
So
ask
see
you,
in April?
can I ask you one question, John?
Only if you need to.
You found out today about this? You said earlier that you didn't know about these
I
issues?
didn't have any idea about this meeting till.
This was cool.
yeah, well, this is all.
This
Actually,
is
yesterday.
posted.
So, it's all
It's all-
discussion.
it's
We're
all-
not
it's all
required,
Discussion.
we're not required to
Discussion.
notify.
There's no
No agenda
requirement
items.
to whatever, and cause there's
It's
no,
posted.
nothing to approve, there's nothing to send to the village
Yeah.
board.
Really posted.
Yeah,
It's just-
Are you sure that's what the ordinance says, when it directly involves a single business that you're talking about? I'd check that.
Well, when it's a
Wait, so-
discussion item. it doesn't.
Well, it's just a discussion item. We can't make. it-
Proper etiquette would be to contact.
so that you want to be.
I'm not just saying me, any business.
Yeah, I would say that it should be, they should be notified. If we got an issue where we're gonna discuss something about somebody's property, I think it would be proper etiquette to give them a legitimate 15 business day notice just as somebody presents stuff to us, has to give us prior notice.
Giving
So
them
I just think it's just good etiquette to it.
Mhm.
It was,
So-
it was a lot more productive that John was here tonight than if he wouldn't have been here.
It's normally not that way.
These are all factual statements.
The-
But I like what we got accomplished. This
the,
feels
uh,
good.
So, but by that rationale too, if we do what we talked about as far as like reviewing other people's conditional use permits as like, you know, in alphabetical
Yeah.
order, are we gonna notify everybody saying, hey, we're just gonna look at your thing and then send a letter out if we
You'd have to.
feel that.
right?
I think so.
I do, I would say absolutely,
Because, yeah, I mean, like,
just,
That's
like I said, I mean, it's a
that'd be a lot.
courtesy,
legally, we don't have to, but ethically you should,
yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
And we were more productive than John was here.
much more.
Way more
yeah.
productive.
Yeah,
Right.
otherwise we would have
Which I
been
do
doing
think
this
is
again in a
funny.
month and.
Exactly,
First time for everything.
And now everybody can breathe because you can figure it out. and you have a
right,
lot.
right.
Yeah,
I gotta go to Christmas.
yeah, have fun.
Thank
you.
you.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas, you
Merry
guys.
Christmas.
No, I just think it'd be the proper thing to do, just, because if we're gonna discuss something on somebody's personal land, at least give them some notice to bring them in and save them from feeling.
And I can see that too. I can see
Alright.
even just
That makes
like a blanket letter that we send out, like, hey, we're
Yeah.
gonna be reviewing
Please
conditional
review the
use
agenda.
permits to make sure
Yeah.
everybody's in compliance. Yours is going to be on the
Or just basically, please review the
February
agenda
meeting
you're
or
on.
something.
Yeah, like you said, once the zoning administration thing really gets legs
Yeah.
and we start looking at all the CPs we've had in, but you said like 5 a month, that's just 5 letters a month and it just keeps.
Yeah,
going.
that's bad.
Right.
Yeah, and it's not to like shut people down.
No.
It's like, let's get people into compliance, so when the next business comes in and they wanna do, you know, nuclear testing
Yep.
of
Yeah.
whatever, you know, you know, or chemicals or whatever, like right now, it's a free-for-all in the
But it-
village.
You went
But
from
at
like
least,
0 to
but at
100.
least it'll present to the community members that we are active and we are courteous.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
that we're not attacking anybody, and we're open and we're just, hey, this is, we just want to get this settled and done right.
Yes,
It's proper.
I
This is great.
agree, I agree.
I
on
agree.
that,
It's about
100%.
time, because yeah, Dan has been trying to figure out how we can get people
Yeah.
in compliance for decades.
Well, Dan is loving all this then
And I do
until
appreciate
we
you,
have
Dan.
final
Thank
goal
you
of
for
an
being one of our
actual
members.
zoning administrator.
At least we're on the right track.
Hey.
We're in good place.
Hey,
now.
guys,
We
we're
are.
moving forward.
Better place.
Better place.
Can we please move on to C and E so I can go eat dinner?
Yes, so 431 Reed Street ditch being utilized as a driveway.
Oh, wait,
I've
what?
been talking about this for 10
That's
years.
all over. Is this-
Now that we're
Now that we're
zoning
getting stuff done.
administrators,
Which house is that, Dan?
it is across the street from you, the eightplex.
Oh, you mean the one that-
Multifamily?
all the pictures I took?
I got pictures of my phone.
Yeah, I got all kinds of pictures.
Because they use evergreen
Mhm.
as a driveway. It's a ditch.
Yep.
I have no problem with making a recommendation to the board to say that, let's send them a letter. Either they put a fence there and they don't let anybody drive through there, or they put a driveway in there. It's exactly.
gravel.
Yeah, exactly. It's on a corner. So their driveway is over here. They're using this as a driveway. I don't care if it's a corner lot. There's 2 driveways for a multiplex. I don't care.
And where they're driving illegally right now is far enough away from the actual intersection to not be a hazard. I mean,
Yeah, it's not like it's gonna be right in the corner. I think it's back far enough they could put the driveway in, because
yeah,
there's a set of garages there.
yes,
So they drive, the people that live right here drive into their garage through the ditch.
yeah.
And in a
Oh,
wet year, it's just a mess.
Who's the
Oh.
owner? Who's the owner? We just need to send a letter to the owner.
We have, but it's only up for discussion now, so
Yeah.
if we table it till next meeting, discussion and possible recommendation, I would make a motion at that meeting to recommend the village
Absolutely.
send out something to the property owner.
And
Twice.
I would request, can
yeah,
you put together something for a package for us, some pictures and
Mm.
like a oversight of the property?
Mhm.
And just some pictures so we can see it here, and then when it goes to the full village board, they have something to look at, and,
I still got 2 pictures on my phone, but
yeah, well,
That'd be fine, because, I mean, it's a clear cut.
send them to Tasia so she can put them with the packet, and then Tasia, if you can do like a.
Felicia's got
Felicia's.
that's gonna do us a lot of good right now.
I don't have them.
it.
Okay.
I was like,
Yeah,
I'll
send
send
them to Tasia,
I'll
and
send
Tasia, if you can do like an overview of the property, from the county map.
Can I, this kind of ties back to your zoning administrator procedures. I would just offer a word of caution to send out anything that reads like an enforcement letter
So we'd ask, would you please?
until, yes, it should read much more like
A request.
a request, because otherwise we will have people calling and knocking, and the staff here, we're not gonna have a leg to stand on.
Okay, okay.
And that will put us in a very uncomfortable situation.
So you could say this is part of a discussion, this is what we're looking to do, would you work with us towards it?
Yeah,
And then
versus
if
like,
that doesn't
But
work, don't have to.
Yeah,
More of
but
a
either way,
professional level.
it's, yeah, it's nothing that we're gonna do at this meeting.
No.
We'll just
Right.
no,
Get
no.
the more information, put it on the next meeting and send out a very nice letter.
A very nice requesting.
Yeah, for sure.
So wait, so this
After the
will be
holiday.
on, yeah, so this will be on January's meeting, and we'll know who the property owner is, and we'll have pictures, and then we can.
It's about requesting
Kind of letter
compliance,
together?
I think Bob knows who the property
Yeah.
owner is.
not going nuclear on people.
That's a really good word that you keep using and you keep using is compliance. That's all, I mean, we're not doing anything other than saying, hey, compliance. So either don't use it or turn it into an actual record,
There you go,
please.
I don't wanna
please
go back,
comply.
I don't wanna go back a few minutes, but, the sign that, Marquette's wanting to sell, which sign is it?
It's a big billboard sign with the blue
The
pole.
big one that's in the.
If you were to turn to go to the hockey arena,
Right there.
Why doesn't the city buy it? The village.
For what? Like literally though, for what, that's a good question. isn't it?
I mean, if
Well,
you
he
look
said,
at the
he was
entrance-
talking about before the meeting.
I mean,
or
we're-
beginning of the meeting.
When we're coming
Selling
into
advertising.
the actual village,
Ah, so advertising.
I mean.
something
I
that
mean, just
advertises
take a
all the
look,
things
just,
you have to
just
offer.
take a look at what it looks
It
like
is
when we're coming into the village.
So the village sells advertisement and makes money.
That's a outside the box.
That is
type
not a
idea.
horrible idea
Well,
at all.
It's
The only reason why
it's
I
a
say
horrible
that-
idea when you hear the
The
price
only,
of a
the
broken
only,
sign.
the only reason.
Oh,
why-
yeah,
the
no,
only
we never
reason why I
mind.
say that is, when I worked out on the East Coast, we put one up in front of one of my stores. And, we made a couple $1,000s a month in advertisement,
Oh, yeah.
so it pretty much paid for itself.
Oh,
So because people can buy the ads.
Yeah.
And then you run it on the screen.
hmm,
So it's just a food for thought,
Make it-
yeah.
but I don't know what kind of ridiculous amount of money he wants.
Well, it sounds like he's already got the parts.
Garage is order.
I think it would be better, it'd be well taken care of if we had it.
That's a right.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. We can make it look however we wanted it to
Like
look.
Well, I know what it is, but I thought.
That's a big can of worms. I don't think the
Oh,
village should step in.
okay,
Yeah, it's just a food for
okay, and I
thought.
know. who this is. Okay.
And he doesn't seem to be in any hurry to either, I mean, to make it his own again or to sell it off to somebody who's gonna come take it down and use it.
Well, it was for sale to Live Nation and they were like, they laughed at the price.
Okay.
Oh, okay, I guess I didn't know
Parts
that,
are in back order,
that piece.
like
Yeah.
quoting, right? Parts are in back order, I believe that's what he said, parts are in back
Are
order.
we on our final
Final one.
Trace Baby Jesus.
apartment discussion, apartment dwelling above 1905 Highway 35?
This is me again. I make you all learn your keep.
Do it.
And I'll be honest, Dan, I appreciate everybody bringing stuff forward. Let's keep
This is good.
doing this and
Yep.
just keep,
You're like the leader of our zoning administration
let's,
task that
let's,
we're taking on.
So I have a new
Does that come
title
with
for
a-
Dan.
Does that come with a bump in pay?
No, it comes
Doesn't,
with an
because
attaboy.
it's
On the sheet we got, that's the 13-1-47. C2 highway commercial,
Uh-huh,
down under D4, living quarters for the owner or caretaker required for the operation of the business. Provide the minimum requirements for the R2 and R3 districts to adhere to in the purpose intent of chapter withheld. So anyway, if you're in R2 or R3,
okay,
you can have living quarters for yourself or a caretaker.
oh, okay,
So there's a business next to my mini storage,
okay,
the old machine shop.
Yep.
I can't think of the name of it in there.
Crossroads.
The old Crossroads building.
Mhm.
He's got an apartment upstairs.
okay.
Is it still him?
No, he sold the building.
Yeah,
A few years, but only a few years ago.
okay,
So anyway, he lived up there for a while.
yeah,
Fine.
remember that, and his daughters, yep, he and his
So-
daughters were up there.
That I think is still vacant. In fact, I know the guys that are in and out. I stopped in there one day. I said, oh, by the way, that the little apartment upstairs is not an apartment. It's for an owner or caretaker. Across the street from me, in Brian Smith's building, who Brian sold it, Brian's still there, but he sold it to Jay Emmert when Jay sold the rental. Jay wanted to purchase more property in the village, fine. Well, I asked Jay about it, I said, that couple you got living upstairs, they're not an owner or a caretaker. He said, yeah, they are. No, they're not. The guy was going up the stairs carrying a case of toilet paper and could barely manage that. He's not a caretaker. Sorry. So it's being used as I'm 99% sure it's being used as rental.
Rental.
And that's not what it was designed for. This is industrial or a resident or a commercial building.
But Jay's gonna claim that he caretakes the
And-
building by.
Mental, the building's
Right, and
mental
I
health.
would-
Nobody comes here and does
Yeah,
it.
that's what
And
I was gonna
I would,
Yeah.
I would say the exact same thing, if I own the property and I just want somebody to watch, it doesn't matter if the guy can't carry toilet paper,
Yeah.
whatever. All I have to say is the guy's watching the place
Watching the
over me,
place.
he's a caretaker.
Yeah, so
So
that,
how do we win that argument
Yeah.
when the caretaker, the person employed to look after a building? Then like, he doesn't have to be physical specifications to be like Rambo or anything.
He's just
He
visually making sure nobody's
Because if
We
breaking
give
in.
him, $20 off on rent so we can watch.
We
the
don't
place
have
over.
something in here, we're gonna have everybody renting
That's true.
their commercial property, you know, when I put my
Yeah, but
addition
that's
on, I could have put apartments up there and just rented them. That's not what it's commercial property, it's not for resident.
our
it's not for
problem comes
people.
though in the wording, because that caretaking,
Yeah,
Yeah.
he probably, I mean, this would just be a deal where whoever's got the best lawyer is gonna win this case, because like
there is
Mike
no,
already said, he is caretaking, he's watching to make sure
Watching it.
nobody comes and ruins the building.
yeah, and there is no definition of caretaker in our ordinance, and there is no definition of caretaker that I could find in the state statute.
So that is
So the
open to
only-
interpretation.
Well, the only, I just, you get Webster's dictionary after that, if it's not in one of the two,
So
and
you're right,
you're right.
but legally, you're not gonna have a foot to stand on.
In my opinion.
Okay, and I'm not upset, I'm just wanting, you know, like everything else that goes in the village, I want I want us to know about it and discuss it.
Does anybody else have the difference of paying for the caretaker?
I get your point, I kind of agree.
Yeah,
I'll just, yeah, we.
I like want somebody to
not
watch my
the
business, so I'm
We
okay.
met.
Well, I don't think Jay owns it anymore either.
We have no
Because it's an
wording or
entity out of the
specification, I
city.
want that caretaker.
So I-
Makes it even worse, but
Well,
yes,
yes,
I'll throw this in real quick, but the second the county made me lock up my campground and not even have people camp for free or just hang out and watch the place. Everything got broke into and robbed and stolen as soon as I couldn't have people there to watch the place. Everything got broke into.
So the county did what to you?
I had to lock my gates and do whatever, and literally everything got broke into and stolen and damaged.
that's the same thing you hear from every cabin owner for
Yep.
hunting up north. is
Especially that nobody around, they're all broken into.
Yep.
Yep,
Always broken, they,
Literally,
they, most
show
of them
'em
leave the
park
doors
all
unlocked now.
2 miles back in the
yeah,
woods.
they do, literally. I have friends that just leave them open.
So, yeah, that's just what happens when it's not caretaking.
That is
So
it.
in the future, if we do something like that, maybe the term isn't caretaker, maybe it's.
maybe,
Owner, operator
Owner or operator
of
only
an actual
of
business
the
that
actual
serves.
business. That's how you change that.
Yeah.
You'd
Yeah,
have to
we-
actually be the owner to live there, to occupy in business suite.
now this couple has a kid,
Oh.
Oh,
so to me, it's, you're raising a family in a commercial building.
Mhm.
Or if it doesn't belong, I agree, I agree, we might not be able to enforce it, I agree with you, but
Yeah.
that's not what this was, that's not what this was created.
No, they really
Years
get
ago.
under the category of caretaking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
we have to change our wording. If we wanna do what we intended, it's our wording that's
it's the
wrong.
word.
when the neighborhood kids ride through my parking lot on Sunday, I don't say anything. If they're over there playing and I go boot them out of there.
Yeah.
This is not a playground. I don't care if you ride your bikes through. You used to have a pop machine there, they come and get a pop twice a day. I don't care.
This is
Yeah,
business.
But it's not a playground. It's not a place to raise your
Because when they
family.
wipe out, it's gonna be
Yeah,
on you.
correct.
Mhm.
This,
Oh, yeah, that's
Mom and
true.
dad
That's
are gonna be-
insurance. Yeah, you're right.
this, before we adjourn, this, is a question I have. that was always in the village, right? Or
What's that?
that lot? On the corner across from you, that was in the village for,
That building, yeah, when that building was built, was annexed into the building.
and,
That was Doc Brown's house before that. in the
yes,
township.
yep.
But as a
Burnt
commercial
down.
building, it was in the village.
Okay,
Yeah.
so why did the village not change it to 501 Highway 35 or 501 Churchill? Why did it have a township address of 1905? Because
That's a very good question.
it should reflect being a village property.
We overlooked a lot of things back in the day.
You were young, you had children.
That's what it
You're
was.
just busy, you're
But
retired.
I'm 448, so 190th would be 450, so he should be 454, whatever.
454.
I don't know, I have no idea,
No, 450.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Depends
but
where it sits on the lot.
anything that got annexed should have a switch to a village address.
Absolutely.
So
So,
that has to be done?
well, it
No,
it should be,
from
I
now
mean,
on. if you
Who
could
does that?
we do it through, I've done it with dispatch before, when, Kent Kramer's, when they annexed in, they switched addresses.
Yeah, can you imagine how difficult dispatch would be if they had to have an emergency? They get that address and
Oh,
they're
God.
ready to race out to the country?
Where
And it's
Donnie
like
Kern
in the
used to live down Plur Drive
Oh,
down
that's not
there.
good, you're right.
Yeah, the addresses back there make no sense.
That was a mess.
Cause
Try
some
to
of
not
them
be
are in the village, some are, we're in the township.
I'm thirsty, anything else?
I know.
Will you look into that address? See what the 1905, why it doesn't have a, or if we can make it a,
Until Highway 35.
but it,
I was told to use State Road 35.
right, but why when it's
Why?
Churchill Road too? When does Churchill end in
And
35? Cause it's, the church is Churchill,
The state decides that.
Yes.
The state's the one that came to me and says, instead of using Highway 35 North, which when I was years ago, they said you need to start using State Road 35.
State
Yeah, they
Road.
told me.
And then before that, it was Churchill.
But Apple River Campground is 319 Churchill Road.
There's a dividing line there somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's
then,
not real consistent.
and then is it a division or is it evergreen? Cause it's got one on one side of the road.
The board changed it to Evergreen.
Oh, it's all
It was
evergreen
division
now?
originally. That was before the other road was in. It was division. So then it only made sense to make it contiguous.
You know,
Yeah.
I know, I'm thirsty.
Is anybody gonna make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion to adjourn and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same
Powerful
sign.
motion on the floor.
We are adjourned
Merry Christmas,
at
you guys.
7:32 PM.